I don't really think about the past. I don't think about how many world titles I have or how many races I've won. I just think of the future. And when you're start line, it doesn't matter what you've done before. You have to prove it that day.
Are you at home? Are you in Pontevedra?
I'm home in Pontevedra. I came here from New Zealand 1 month ago, and I've been basically locked down since then. Training at home as much as I can, and yeah, it's a pretty tough situation in Spain at the moment. So we have to be responsible to stay at home. So that means no swimming really, but I guess the same for everyone. This is not a normal situation, but yeah, you know, like using the time to do other things.
What are you doing with your time that you would usually spend hours and hours and hours of training?
I could play guitar for hours. Will you play with people in a band or something like that? I mean, that's something that if I wasn't an athlete, I would love to be a guitar player.
Have you learned something yet?
I always have it here.
Hell yeah! How did you become a triathlon pro?
Triathlon wasn't big at all. It was a very small sport, and I was a swimmer in my hometown club. And there were a few older guys who were training for a triathlon. It was a big deal, you know, doing that triathlon. I didn't even know what it was, and they knew that I liked running and cycling apart from swimming, and they told me, why don't you just try it? Just go there. And one of them, remember, he came to my house and explained me how to do things, transitions, told me you can use a towel, you know, to dry your feet and everything, you know, take your time. And he was the pro explaining me, and then I ended up racing, and I was 7 minutes faster than him in the end. But he was really cool, and I love the sport. It was like, what is this? I mean, been swimming for so many years, and I see that I'm actually more talented for running and cycling than swimming. That I do well, but because I've been training for so long that I've never really run before, and I can run deeply. So yeah, this one I discovered. I was back in 1998, and yeah, since then I started to take it more and more seriously until I became professional.
Did you have like proper screw-ups in your races, like things where you're like, how did I do that wrong in transition or the race?
Yeah, the races back then. I remember the people going to transition, bringing even more gear than now, like one of those beach chairs, you know, that you put there, and a bucket with water to get rid of the sand and everything. It was a whole setup, you know. People were not really stressed about not losing time in transition. It was, at least here, it was very, very amateur, obviously. And the courses, I mean, they were really tough, especially where I live. This area is really hilly. And I was a 15-year-old kid, and there were no races for kids. My first race was an Olympic distance with I don't know how many hills on both on the bike and on the run. It was really hard. I mean, kids are not allowed to do that anymore. But that's where I grew up doing Olympic distance races since I was 15. So now I see in ITU, and the races are getting shorter and shorter. You know, they're more sprint and super sprints. Like, well, now that I'm 35, you tell me that. You know, I grew up doing always Olympic distance. So, yeah, it was a lot of experimenting. Same about training. No one really, at least here in Spain, no one really knew what we were doing. We just, you know, thought that we had to train more or less or do this or that, but we had no idea really. So we kind of learned, like, we just figured it out ourselves, you know, with no really professional coaches or anything.
What is your swim setup now?
3 days ago, I got one of those kids pool, like a round 3 meter pool, 3 meter by 1 meter deep. So I usually use like some kind of cords, and I just swim without moving, which is quite hard actually, because the water feels so hard because you're not moving forward. So I just count my strokes, and I guess, you know, then how many meters would that be? But yeah, and it's pretty cold. I use my wetsuit, but yeah, not ideal. But after 3 weeks of no swimming, at least I'm touching the water, and you get to feel it, and, you know, move your arms a little bit. So I guess it's better than nothing.
How is the spirit within the ITU? Because in Banyoles at the World Cup last year, I had a really cool experience when Mario and Vincent were pushing the pace at the front. There was this moment where Mario, I think, realized with 200 meters to go that Vincent is going to have the better punch today. And he kind of gave him like a confirming clap on the back and was like, okay, I know you got this. Go for it.
It's a great atmosphere, and I think the last few years have been the best. I mean, I've raised different generations, a lot of great people, you know, through all those years. But at the moment, you know, when you meet these guys, Vincent, Luis, Mario, he's a good friend of mine. I don't know, everyone who's at the front, they are so nice, you know, and some people think that we should be more angry when we race. I mean, we just give absolutely 100%, and Mario is probably the fastest runner ever in sport, you know, but we just hang out, you know, and out of the race, we can be friends. Then we go to start line and we try to smash each other. And that's totally normal. And some people don't really understand it.
Who were your heroes when you started the sport?
Well, one of them was definitely Simon Lessing, because back in the day, he was the 4-time world champion. And a really cool thing is that my first international race in Portugal in 2002 was one of his last races. And yeah, he won that race, and I got to race him. And I was in the same group on the bike, and I was like staring at him like, wow, this guy's, just being there was pretty cool. And a few years later, I was in this situation that I have 4 world titles like him, and was just 1 title away from beating him. And I remember when I raced him back in the day, and it was really exciting.
I gotta ask you about Ivan, and I mean this in a good way, but is he a little bit crazy?
He's getting crazier and crazier with the years, I would say. He's doing crazier stuff now.
He is.
He's a very genuine guy. Like, he really believes in what he does, and he doesn't care about what other people think, you know, whether he's running bare feet. But back in the day when he was maybe 19, he was 23, 24, and he was really talented, really focused, training really hard. And the last few years, he changes his diet, did a few different things, but that's what he believes. That's fine if it works well for him.
That's why I'm asking. I love the guy, but he's very unique.
Right.
Eh?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
Everybody who doesn't know him, just watch the 2008 Olympic race, for example. You guys had a lot of fun for a long time there. Eventually 4 guys in the front of he had to let go at some point.
Yeah, he was the guy who broke the group. It was kind of a bigger bunch on the run, everyone controlling each other. He just went for it, you know. He wasn't probably the strongest of that race, but he just took his chance and went for it. And eventually the group got to 5, and then he dropped, and it was 4 of us. But he always raced really aggressively and, you know, tried to make the most out of his condition. Sometimes it was enough to win, other times it wasn't, but he was always a key factor in the races.
Oh, he absolutely led some to some entertainment for sure. What dreams do you still have as an athlete?
Kona is definitely one of them, right? It's a huge event. It's something that after my experience in 2018, I want to do better. And Olympics. Those are the 2 big races that I still want to do well.